If you have just tuned in to the Uncomfortable Conversations tour, where I typically use my platforms to raise awareness about the economical issues influencing racism, sacred sex geometry, the body and its interaction with the universe, environmental health chaos, and so on. Segment of Uncomfortable Conversations on sex in exchange for your soul. This is in hopes to prevent rising stars from exchanging their gifts and life purpose with sex for the promise of fame, in hopes of preventing aspiring artists from falling into the hands of narcissistic manipulators who use trickery in exchanging your soul for their sexual gratification with the promise of fame. The entertainment industry. I was once told by my boss that my voice is all he needed to hear in the morning and that he missed my humming. My voice brought so much energy to that office. Now, my voice is not like Whitney Houston, but scientifically and spiritually, my voice, like many others, connect to nature, is the vibrational soul of the universe. It communicates by frequency, energy, and vibration. Sometimes I practice silence to see how the universe would respond. That's meditation. It was revealed to me that music is being used by the ego and its strong desire for fame, and those who present the illusion of fame in exchange for sex. In essence, the stealing of your essence. In their desire to be like God, a musical illusionist gains access to your soul through your voice and sex. I know, this sounds very strange. This is very complicated and involves how energy, frequency, and vibration capture the soul of the universe. And if the illusionist can't convince you by promising you fame, he will promise you love, protection, safety. And if that doesn't work, he would just take what he wants. When I say he, I have seen women too. But not enough men report it. I do have one example which I will share later. But okay, the illusionist promises are made by producers to help artists advance in their career. A frame of reference, Cardi B and her first so-called manager or producer made promises to her while making her his side chick and getting into fistfights with other women on the VH1 show. I think it was Love and Hip Hop. I bet that he is feeling stupid now for not believing in Cardi B. Then here comes this leech Shaft trying to shaft Cardi B by suing her for creating her own self. Then there's Stevie J's promises to Jocelyn after dragging her through the mud for fame. When she finally is able to break free, I mean, these predators don't go away nicely. Now he's gotten full custody of their daughter. Meanwhile, he barely spends time with the other children he has with other women. Okay, I'm just speculating at this point just from seeing his interaction with his children on the VH1 show. Seemed like the kids were often with their mothers. When you decide you've had enough, if you try to spread your wings, they try to latch onto you through other means or destroy you financially or of character assassination or even murder. Now, the way Aaliyah passed away is very suspicious. People say, I don't want to be called a conspiracy theorist, but hey, I am a conspiracy theorist. So, although, if you check my record, what I have warned about has happened. And the covering up of R. Kelly's crimes started with Aaliyah, who was given sleeping pills after complaining about headaches and after refusing to get on the plane because she didn't feel right. It's as if Aaliyah has reincarnated through this girl, Azriel, and has come back for revenge for what R. Kelly and those who were involved with the vampires who sucked the life out of her and because of their greed. Azriel and Dominique and so many other girls are telling their stories about how they were brainwashed by R. Kelly, promised fame and love, but were only humiliated and degraded with sexual acts and traumatized by threats of harm if they left or spoke out. I watched the Netflix story on surviving R. Kelly, and it makes me sad for Aaliyah. who
You know what they
was
say? They say
like
that
who was most likely young and
I talked to your
naive
dad
and
last night. He says,
starstruck by
my
so
daughter
many
is
other
brainwashed
aspiring
and he's very
artists that
concerned.
were
He
just
said he was here 2
starstruck
days
over
ago
R.
and you
Kelly,
wouldn't
but
even
too
look him
young
in the
to
eye.
realize that
Okay, I wouldn't
they
look him in
didn't
the eye
need to
because
take
he's
that
a
route
liar.
to
And he's a manipulative liar.
I'll tell you why they're concerned.
This girl,
Azrael,
the
because they say
exact
she's
same
17.
thing
We
Aaliyah
found
did,
text
Azrael I'm talking
messages
about.
that
She either
indicated that
denied
she
or
was having
joked
sex with R.
around
Kelly
the
when she was
question when
17. Is
initially
that true?
asked
No,
if
that
she
is a
was
lie.
involved with
That
R.
is a lie. I
Kelly
was not having
while
sex with him
underage.
at 17.
We
Why
provide
would they
training
wanna
for
lie
young
about
adults
you,
and
their
vulnerable
daughter?
women
Okay, so
and men on sexual
when I
harassment
first met
because
Robert,
they are not equipped
my
with the
parents told
maturity
me
or
to lie
confidence
about
to
my
speak
age.
truthfully about
So
what they are
when I met
experiencing.
him, he
In most
thought that I
cases,
was 18.
they don't even
On
know
top of
how
that, when
the
I was 17, my
manipulation will
parents
traumatize
were
them in
actually
their
making
future.
me,
And they
trying
just
to
go
get me
along
to take
with to
photos
make
with
the
him,
day easy.
take
But now,
sexual
I don't
videos
want
with
to
him,
get too
all kinds of
sidetracked,
stuff.
but I
Wait,
want
your
to
parents
also
encouraged
discuss
you to
how
do
white men
sexual
seem
videos
to
with R.
escape the
Kelly?
public
Yes. And they
humiliation
said
of their
because
sexual
if
crimes
they ever
or
have to
use
blackmail
black
him,
men as
what they're trying
scapegoats. For example, Hugh Hefner was an enabler of so many sexual criminals, but it seems like Bill Cosby took the fall, and Hugh Hefner was able to die and keep his legacy intact, almost like Bill Cosby was used as a distraction. There are women who finally got the courage to speak up about their traumas of living in the Playboy Mansion, similar to the same trauma women shared about living with R. Kelly and the sexual degradation they experienced. Now, Bill Cosby was known as Black America's ideal dad. Can you separate his personal life from his entertainment work life? What about Bill Clinton? Can you separate his lying about his sexual acts with Monica Lewinsky and Kelly? R. Kelly, can you separate his acts of violence, sexual violence to women from his music? In another series I'm going to do about racism and the economy, racism's impact on the economy, one of the topics is how Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory totally disregarded Africa and created this fake place for where cocoa is exported from. And as opposed to acknowledging, they had 3 opportunities to get this right, y'all. He wrote the story in a book, he created the story in a movie, and then he remade the movie, and then he even remade the movie. No, I'm sorry, they have 4 times to get this right. And just acknowledging that the chocolate, acknowledging where they got the chocolate from, where they got the cocoa from, who the Oompa Loompas really are, and the pygmies, where they came from. That would have to acknowledge Africa, which means that they would have to pay back Africa, and they definitely don't want to do that. So Africa being the number 1 supplier for cocoa, I was hesitant to include R. Kelly's song Chocolate Factory, but I really wanted to include the song because I'm hoping that in my sharing, R. Kelly's, his financial situation right now is not looking too good with all the lawyer fees, and he just lost a few of his properties. I'm hoping that sharing the music will help leave something to compensate the survivors of his sexual crimes and his sexual acts. So in my sharing the music, I hope, I don't know, maybe it's in my head that it will work like this, but it'll boost his ratings and while he's in jail, that his victims are compensated. Okay. And it's not just in America. Just last year, New Zealand CEO of Illegal Music, hence the name, promises fame in exchange for sexual favors. Sometimes these illusionists will even try to steal the identity one person's name to build another. I'll discuss this when I talk about how artists slander each other to stay relevant. But time reveals and heals all things. So, moving on, CEO Mark Arona and his partner in crime, Peter Chambers, 42, and Mark Arona, 40, of Illegal Records, are going through some great measures to keep the company out of the public attention by referring to themselves as a rap group. But these 2 predators are serving almost 9 years sentence after creating the illusion of fame to lure women into their hotel room that if they were any regular old Joe, they would never have been given the time of day. The victim, who cannot be identified, testified that she had too much to drink and passed out after toking a marijuana joint. She woke up in the motel room to find the two men violating her. She couldn't resist them because she felt like a rag doll. The men insisted through the trial that sex was consensual, while their legal term had painted her as a skimpily dressed groupie in every sense of the word, who had initiated the encounter, prepared to admit to what they had done, and hoped it would give other women who'd undergone similar experiences and the next generation of girls the courage to speak out. I pray that there is no next generation of girls that need to speak out about this. I pray that it stops right here. But continuing on, lots of people are feeling happy about the sentence these men received, she told the newspaper. But I just feel like a broken mess. Despite their denials, this still happened to me. It's something I will have to live with for the rest of my life. Once the trial is over, I tried to put this all into a jar and close the lid forever. But now it feels like the jar has been opened again. Alert. Please, trigger alert. I cannot be happy until these men admit what they did to me and apologize. I feel you, but you gotta try. Feel like, I deserve an apology. I want them to bow down and like feel remorse for what they've done when those thoughts come up. So I just try to do something that makes me happy and to let the thought pass. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have never heard a predator apologize, nor those who enable the predator. I rarely hear them apologize. But I do know a sex therapist. Some of her clients, like in my passing, I've passed predators, I want to say, before that come to her for counseling, sex therapy sessions. So I can't say that they don't apologize, but I haven't heard one apologize. The segment is to hopefully reach someone considering a music career or any aspirations to be successful, to let them know that they do not have to exchange their soul for sexual assault, sexual abuse, or sexual favors. So many artists mention in their lyrics how they have exchanged their soul for fame. It's typically by doing something illegal or sexual favors. I share because I want you to be able to experience life without trickery, violence, or harm to you. You are not a product. You are not an object. You have your own gift and your own brand. You just need help fortifying it and nurturing it. Earth was not meant to be a place of chaos, but a place for the soul to experience the fruits of love, joy, adventure, etc. If you don't love what you do, your livelihood, or who you are with when you're doing it, you should reevaluate why you are doing it. Your business or company is how you present and share your gift with the world, and it should not be done with trickery, bullying, harassment, violence, or harm. I used to work in artist management. I earned my MBA and was exploring different aspects of business. My bestie introduced me to the entertainment side of business management. She is a well-known DJ in California, and I witnessed the way she was being treated by club owners and promoters. It made me want to help her, and just to help her be treated fairly, help her to get paid on time, or to get paid in cash and not sexual request or feeling on her. When I saw she practically was having to give herself away on social media, I mean, she has the body of a goddess, like beautiful artwork. And if you follow me, you know I'm an advocate for the body and its art. You know, like not to touch, but you can admire it. You can look at it, but it shouldn't be touched. I noticed when it came time for her payment, they would hold up her payments, sometimes making the girls wait until the sun came up. This is working in a club at nighttime from maybe sometimes 9 o'clock at night till now 6 o'clock in the morning waiting for your payment. But the club is closed at 4 or 3, sometimes 1 or 2, and you're sitting around waiting for payment. It's crazy. So that they can decide who is more important to pay. I was sad for her. So anyway, would trick her with promises of love and taking care of her as an alternative to paying her what she deserved. I felt so bad for her because When she tried to work a normal job, in the office would body shame her, make her feel bad about her appearance or what she was wearing. And oftentimes she would send me a picture and like, is this okay what I'm wearing? Because this woman said this about my butt and blah, blah. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with what you're wearing. Okay. And she would be hiding in the bathroom stall calling me, crying because of what women. So it's not just men that sexually harass, it's also women. I mean, it's like they wanted her to wear a grandma dress. Honestly, what she was wearing was very office respectable. It's just that she had a very curvy figure, so she can't help but some parts of her to stick out. Often, we do this as women. I'm guilty. I made an intern feel it was her fault when she was being sexually harassed in our office. I told her she should stop wearing glass bottom heels. I felt terrible for not listening to her. So part of this work I do is right the wrongs of my past and help her get compensated for the harassment she also experienced in the office. I filed a complaint on her behalf as well. For her and young adults and those in vulnerable situations like her. Bargaining with patriarchy. Often the only way women can gain power is by exerting it over other women. This is what I mean by women using their position like, oh, you're not good enough, you dress like that. Jealousy can get in the way. You think there was this, I was watching Discovery last night, and the Tilly, I think her name was, lied to Michael Burnham saying that her station wasn't available, that she had to go to a station away from her. And it was because she felt threatened by Michael Burnham's presence and that she wouldn't be noticed if she was up under Michael Burnham. This is why there is a stereotype about hating your mother-in-law. In many patriarchal families, the only time a mother has power in the family is over their son's wife. I believe slut shaming or calling a girl, oh, she a hoe, or look how she dressed, to be a way of bargaining with patriarchy. This is what Chanel C says. She is a women's rights advocate in Australia. The concept of bargaining with patriarchy, one I have thought about often. It refers to the strategies women employ to gain a greater degree of security in the patriarchal society. Trigger warning: sexual assault. Dear girls and women, I am sorry for every time I judged you for what you wore. I'm sorry if I said it was too much or not enough or too short. I've said that. I'm sorry for every time I've gossiped about something that in hindsight was your sexual assault experience. I'm sorry I never believed you. I'm sorry I ever thought it was your fault. I'm sorry if I ever made it feel like it was your fault. I'm sorry if I ever bargained with patriarchy at your expense. I acknowledge I did all these things. Every single person contributes to rape culture unless they actively don't. I promise to do better. Dear boys and men, you've come to the realization that we live in a rape culture where girls and women feel uncomfortable almost every single day. What can you do to help us? Reflect. Have conversations with people close to you who you trust and talk to about what is going on with what is going wrong with your old behaviors. Identify what might be wrong with your current ones and work towards eliminating them. Ask your friends to hold you accountable. Let people around you know that you welcome them to tell you when you do or say something that contributes to rape culture without realizing it. Hold your friends accountable. Let's get to the point where it's more socially acceptable to call out the behavior that contributes to rape culture than it is to behave in a way that contributes to rape culture or sexual harassment in the workplace, especially. If someone tells you about their sexual assault experience, feel honored that they trust you enough to do that. That's real, very serious. Listen, ask them how they want you to help them. Believe them. Remember, when discussing rape culture and sexual assault, being able to stay calm is not reflective of your objectivity on the matter, but a level of privilege to not be unsettled by the by these conversations. Do not say all men. Acknowledge that it is too many men. Do not try to rid yourself of guilt before engaging in this conversation. Just because you don't think you are part of the problem doesn't mean that you are part of the solution. The solution will come from positive action. In a rape culture, complacent is complicit. All men benefit from the way our society is structured. Acknowledge your privilege. This also goes for racial privilege, but I won't go there. Remember, this is about bringing women up, not tearing them down. So you can go and sign a petition that says you request a holistic consent sex education to be included in the curriculum that acknowledges toxic masculinity, rape culture, slut shaming, victim blaming, sexual coercion, and enthusiastic consent, as well as queer sex education. We also call for urgent reform to require sexual consent to be enthusiastic consent. There is a difference. Current and former students have made it clear from the brave disclosure of sexual assault. Sadly, what we are talking about here is not just an issue at schools, it is a whole society problem. I think that we should definitely focus more on consent training. That way we're not focusing on, how do you recognize sexual harassment? Because if we focus on consent training, then we won't have a need to discuss sexual harassment, because our generations will know that, I have to get enthusiastic consent for this. And if you take my sacred geometry of sex training, then your youth will know that these things are not even necessary to be thinking about right now, because you should be focused on these things that are the betterment for your soul. And then maybe we won't have so much porn and drippets of sexual activities dripped all over social media and TV, which entices our young men to, our children to be inquisitive about sex. So the snake that encouraged Eve to bite the apple is still modernly finding its way into our children's minds. I want to present the example of women who use their position to exploit men too. Not enough men speak up about this, and since this example I am using is recent and possibly will end up in litigation, I won't mention names, and these are just allegations. This is an article published by No White Saviors about a white woman who allegedly exploited black men to have a baby. Okay, this is not included in the article, but I've also been dripped this information and for donations to help Africa. She selected young boys from the village who were vulnerable and promised them dreams while also sleeping with and date raping them. Here's the article. I cannot read it all because it's heartbreaking, but I will leave the link to the article in the description box if you have time to read it later. Now, getting back to the entertainment industry, I want to address social media and how it's being used as a tool for harassment, stalking, and bullying. I know I am late, but I want to share with you this article and discuss social media bullying and harassment. This is all allegations, but I want to use it as an example. Are Ghanaians well informed about sexual harassment, or we just don't care? This is what I feel to ask. And we don't really know exactly why she is saying this, but we are pretty sure it has to do with the recent documentary from BBC, which suggests that some university lecturers use weird means to dash mark their students. And this is strange because I had one of my students in the village tell me that she had gotten pregnant by sleeping with one of her friends who was way older than her. He was dashing her money for school fees, and so she was, in exchange, she was having to meet him under the tree to sleep with him. This is still, to me, sexual favors. He's paying her school fees. Do you like him? No, I don't like him. So then you're basically sleeping with him because he's paying your school fees. A women's advocacy group Pepperdine Ministries has called on the Ghana Police Service to deal ruthlessly with comedian Afia Schwarzenegger for threatening to pay men to gang rape Afia Aldo. It's very unfortunate that Afia Schwarzenegger is threatening another woman with rape, and by doing so endorsing sexual violence against women. This is another unfortunate example of rape culture. With her, we will deal with that. Even Ghana police won't be able to save her. If you know your house and talk shit about me, I will beat your ass up and pay guys to rape you. That's how we roll on the street, period. Ooh, you sound like a queen, girl. This is disgusting, basically. Is your teen safe from sexual harassment in the workplace? Is your teen safe from sexual harassment in their summer job? 5 tips for teens to stop sexual harassment in their workplace. 5 tips to report sexual harassment in the workplace. Does your workplace have a current, clear sexual harassment prevention policy? Does your workplace have a current, clear sexual harassment prevention policy? Are you being sexually harassed by your coworker, boss, or customers? One study of a high school student who had a part-time job found that 2 in 3 girls and 1 in 3 boys reported being sexually harassed at work. The majority reported that they were harassed by co-workers, 61%, followed by supervisors, 19%, and customers, 18%. As temporary or part-time workers, teens may not receive the same level of training and information about sexual harassment policies or any workplace rights that they may have available in any remedies. Furthermore, being new to the workforce, teen workers may not have an understanding of acceptable workplace behaviors. When sexual harassment is in the workplace and left unaddressed in the workplace, these behaviors become accepted as a normal part of work life, particularly as teen workers look to more experienced employees as models. Because of these factors, teenage workers are particularly vulnerable to experiencing workplace harassment. The impacts of these experiences can seriously harm a survivor's future career paths and economic well-being. Studies have found that teenage workers who experience workplace harassment are more likely to have higher levels of stress, academic withdrawal, social absences, and demonstrate depressive symptoms that last nearly 10 years after the incident. Young workers who experience sexual harassment may struggle with productivity as they cope with the physical and mental health consequences of violence. Many abandon certain career paths due to harassing behaviors they experience or accept sexual harassment and violence as a normal part of work. Providing teen workers with education and support around workplace sexual harassment and violence is crucial to help them achieve better careers and opportunities over the course of their lives. Supervisors charged with overseeing teenage workers need to be adequately trained to recognize and respond to harassment and serve as strong workplace role models. Uncomfortable? If you don't want it, it's illegal. It is your employer's responsibility to stop and prevent sexual harassment in the workplace by coworkers, supervisors, or clients. Investigate all employee complaints. Provide brochures or literature on sexual harassment. And what can you do? You can say no clearly. Now, this is difficult because saying no could result in what seems like mistreatment, cold shoulder, hostile work environment. But remember, avoiding conflict to save peace on the outside will create chaos on the inside of you. You will be fighting with yourself, I'm telling you, as to why you didn't say anything, why you didn't tell anyone, why you didn't leave, why you accepted. So if you are too shy to say no or worried about what will happen if you say no, this is how you absolutely know you are feeling harassment and you're being manipulated into silence. It cripples you. It confuses you. If you can't say no or can't say anything, this is how you definitely know that you're being harassed. So write it down. Send an email, send a text, keep evidence until you have the confidence to say no and confidence to deal with the repercussions of your no. Which leads me to the next point of, I'm really praying that we get into a society where none of this will matter. But currently, because it's going on so much, until enough of us have put our foot down, I unfortunately have to do this video. Document the harassment. Get support from family, friends, and coworkers. Look for witnesses and other victims. File a complaint with your employer. You cannot legally be punished or fired for filing a complaint. Your job is protected by law. If it is not resolved, file a complaint with the EEOC if you have one of those, but in Africa or in Ghana, I don't think you do. But I'll leave a link to a contact that I have that she's responsible for sexual harassment and sexual assault advocacy. Now for the LGBT community and why harassment and bullying must stop against this population. Now, I know a lot of parents want to shield their youth from seeing sexual interaction with same-sex relationships. Honestly, I too try to shield my daughter from such influences. I don't want her to be influenced by what she sees, but what she feels. So, I also have family and friends who are in same-sex relationships, and that is their choice. None of my business. It is every human's right to do what they are pleased to do in their privacy, and as long as it means that they're not harming anyone else. And public homosexuality acts actually are prohibited in African culture. Village elders say that there are spiritual reasons why a person might have gay attractions. First, in short, the etymology of the word gay means happy, but in its modern context, we are referring to it as having attraction to the same sex. Not actions with the same sex, but attraction to the same sex. It is said that in tradition and spirituality that spirits embody beings of the opposite sex, but it is important for the soul to accomplish its spiritual work through that embodiment, as opposed to focusing on perform opposite sex sexual activity. In essence, it is the action that is prohibited and not the attraction. The LGBT community has been asked to focus on what their life's purpose is rather than focusing on sexual intercourse with the opposite sex. Elders state that people who associate themselves with being gay have a unique spiritual purpose because they generate a unique or higher energy, and they carry the traits of ancient androgynous beings, and their sexual activities defile their essence, and they lose their purpose of reincarnating into that form. Myth or not, it is important that workplaces and schools understand African culture and why not accepting public sexual gay actions. At a minimum, one should have compassion with the LGBT community to help members focus on their purpose and not subject them to hate crimes or harassment because of their differences. A lot of producers and photographers harass their clients by promising them work or gigs if they sleep with them or offer sexual favors. They do not realize that the artist is there for entertaining of their audience and not them. Also, if you have the courage to share your story and the name of your predator or abuser, it will help keep a data record and technology system to keep track of sexual predators. But it's not helpful if you don't report the sexual predator. And it also helps in legality of if this person's name appears in the system more than once, twice, then with different complaints, it shows that this person has a history. Now they have history or documented evidence that this person this is just this person's character. And it also deters the person from committing these acts because he or she will know that, oh, I will be reported and a record is being kept on me. Okay. Maggie Dent, why we need more consent training in our schools to stop sexual harassment. Her best-selling book, From Boys to Men, is to help parents and those who work with teens and tweens to raise boys to be happy, healthy men. No one wants to raise their son to be a creep, a sexual predator, an abuser of girls and women, or worse, a murderer who kills his female partner and children. Sexual harassment at work isn't just discrimination. It needs to be treated as a health and safety issue. You should read some of the testimonies so that you can see if you have experienced anything like this. There's a comment from singer Petra that comments about butts are not sexual harassment. So then this confuses men because they're like, well, she accepted it, so why is she not accepting it? So you have to think that in most cases it's up to the woman's discretion. Take, for instance, women in entertainment who are typically used to this sort of communication because of the environment that they work in. Honestly, I feel like the only time that this type of communication is okay is if you work in a strip club. But the second the person feels uncomfortable, it's harassment. Unfortunately, you can't prove feelings, so it's important if you feel uncomfortable that you tell someone or make notes to yourself to see if the behavior is one-off or if it's becoming a health concern. Most importantly, remember that if you are in a workplace, that is not a place for talking about your derriere. She's talking about in her environment that, according to the sultry singer, she considers every comment about her body as a compliment instead of harassment. So that is how she feels. Yeah, I agree. I always say that we are art. And am I not to be treated like art? I take the compliments as a compliment to how I'm feeling. I appreciate, yes, I know I look good because that's how I feel. Thank you. But that's all. It shouldn't go any further than that of just being creepy. Keeping it at, you look nice. Finish. You have given this person a compliment and acknowledged the art. That's fine. But yeah, some of the things that I hear we'll go over in our teacher training. If you have something to share in the comment section, or you can also check out some of these testimonies. Please take care of yourself and take care of each other. Be blessed. Peace.